My name is Madison. The night I realized divorce was not the end but only the beginning of betrayal. I was standing in the center of a ballroom lit with gold chandeliers, staring at a woman who had stolen more than just my husband. She had stolen years of my life, and she had the audacity to wear white as if she were pure. But let me take you back. Just 3 weeks after Ryan and I signed the divorce papers, I heard whispers. At first, I thought they were rumors designed to hurt me, the kind that trickle through small circles when people sense blood in the water. Friends texted me screenshots, curious and concerned. "Did you know about this?" they asked. I ignored them, telling myself it couldn't be real. No one moves on that quickly. No one parades a new bride weeks after ending a marriage, unless the bride had been there all along. Then I saw it. A post, public and gleaming on social media. Ryan in a tuxedo, Isabella at his side in a gown that dripped crystals. The caption burned into my brain. "Forever begins now. Forever." He had promised me that word once, holding my hands at the altar, eyes soft with lies. My phone slipped from my fingers that night. I sat on the floor of my apartment, the quiet pressing in on me. Divorce was supposed to be closure. Instead, it was humiliation sharpened into a blade. He had not only replaced me, he had flaunted her like a prize he'd been hiding until the ink on our papers was dry. The next day, my sister Lauren showed up at my door with 2 coffees and a face full of questions. "Maddie," she whispered, "how long was this going on?" I shook my head. "I don't know. But I am going to find out. Because here's the thing. People like Ryan believe in image." He believed that if he smiled wide enough, wore the right suit, and stood beside a bride in white, no one would question the cracks underneath. But I knew better. I knew how to look past polish into rot. So I started digging. First, it was small details. The way Isabella's necklace in their wedding photo matched the one Ryan once gave me, claiming he had found it on a trip. The way her smile looked too practiced, her eyes darting toward the camera like she had rehearsed this role her whole life. The anger inside me was hot, yes, but underneath it ran something colder, clarity. He had not just replaced me. He had rewritten our story, casting her as the heroine and me as the bitter ex. I would not let him win that narrative. That night I sat at my desk, opening folders I had promised myself I would never look at again. Old bank statements, emails, photos, threads of conversations that suddenly looked different under new light. My stomach turned as I pieced them together. Dates overlapped. Timelines blurred. My marriage had not ended when the divorce papers were signed. It had ended much earlier, when Isabella first slipped into his life. But the world didn't know that. Not yet. The idea came to me like a spark in the dark. If Ryan wanted to flaunt Isabella, then I would expose her. Not with anger. Not with rumor. With proof. Proof of who she really was. And as I printed the first screenshot, the pages sliding warm into my hands, I whispered to myself, "You wanted a show, Ryan. Fine. I will give you one you'll never forget." The screenshots on my desk glowed in the dim light of my lamp. At first glance, they looked harmless. Bank statements, calendar reminders, casual emails. But when I lined them up against Ryan's wedding photos, the truth became undeniable. The first detail was a charge from 6 months before the divorce. A boutique bridal shop. The statement read deposit gown fitting. At the time I asked Ryan about it. He had laughed, kissed my cheek and said, "I must have swiped the wrong card paying for a client's event." I believed him. Now I saw the lie in black and white. He had been paying for Isabella's dress while still married to me. I dug deeper. In my email archive, I found a chain dated around our anniversary. Ryan told me he was away on business. Attached was a hotel confirmation, booked under his name, but with 2 guests listed. I had ignored it back then, too tired of fighting. Now I read it with new eyes. 2 guests. Isabella had been in my place on our anniversary. The betrayal unfolded like a film I couldn't pause. I flipped through old photos on social media, zooming in until pixels blurred. At a company gala, months before the divorce, Ryan stood smiling with colleagues. Behind him, blurred but clear enough, was Isabella. She wasn't just a stranger. She was part of his world long before I signed my name on those papers. I sat back in my chair, my stomach twisting. How many nights had I cooked dinner while he told me he was working late, only for him to be with her? How many times had I apologized for being suspicious, when in reality my instincts screamed the truth. Lauren came over the next day. I spread the evidence across the kitchen table like puzzle pieces. She paced the room, her hands tight fists. "Maddie, this isn't just a rebound. He's been planning this." She wasn't after the divorce, she was during. I nodded. My throat was dry but my voice was steady. "He thinks he can rewrite history. He thinks no one will know." Lauren leaned closer, her eyes blazing. "So what are you going to do?" I stared at the wedding photo on my phone again. Isabella's smile. The caption, "Forever begins now. I'm going to show everyone," I whispered. "I'm going to show them who she really is." But proof was not enough. I needed timing. If I exposed them carelessly, Ryan would twist it into bitterness, a jealous ex-wife's rant. No, it had to be undeniable, unspinnable. It had to be public. That night, I created a new folder on my laptop and named it The Truth. Into it I saved everything. Screenshots, statements, photos. I color-coded files, built timelines, cross-referenced dates. The more I worked, the more the story wrote itself. Ryan had not stumbled into a new love. He had groomed it in the shadows, preparing Isabella to step into my role the moment I stepped out. But then came the moment that turned suspicion into fury. Scrolling through Isabella's social media, I found an older post. One I hadn't noticed before. It was a photo taken on the porch of the lake cabin Ryan and I once shared with his family. I zoomed in, heart pounding. Behind her, in the wooden railing, I could see it. The faint carving of M+R. My initials. His initials. Our promise etched into wood. She had posed in front of it with a caption, "Can't wait to make new memories here." I slammed my laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. She wasn't just living in my husband's world. She was stepping into my life, claiming the spaces that once belonged to me. The next morning, I walked into Evelyn Carter's office. My lawyer had been cool, calm, steady throughout the divorce. This time I spread the new folder across her desk. She scanned the documents, her brows knitting. "You could have exposed him during the divorce," she said softly. "I didn't know then," I replied. "But I know now. And I want the truth out." She leaned back in her chair. "If you want to reveal this, do it strategically. Do it where he feels untouchable. It will cut deeper." Her words stayed with me all day. Where did Ryan feel most untouchable? Where did he flaunt Isabella without shame? The answer came that night in the form of an invitation forwarded to my email. A mutual acquaintance had shared it. A post-wedding gala Ryan was hosting with Isabella. Black tie. Dozens of colleagues. Donors. Friends. He wanted to parade her like a crown jewel. And I decided that would be the night I stripped the jewel of its shine. Once the gala became my target, my entire focus shifted. I no longer thought of Ryan and Isabella as people, I thought of them as a case. And every case needs evidence so airtight, so undeniable, that no one can wriggle out. I started with the financial trail. Late nights at my kitchen table, I combed through old bank statements I had nearly thrown away. Hidden between mundane grocery charges were luxury hotel bills, boutiques, jewelry stores. On one line, I found a charge from a diamond dealer 2 months before Ryan filed for divorce. The invoice wasn't for my ring size. It matched Isabella's. Next came photos. I contacted Rachel, a college friend who had been at the company gala months earlier. "Do you still have the photos you took that night?" I asked. Within hours she sent me dozens. I scrolled through, my breath catching as Isabella appeared again and again. Always at the edges, always watching Ryan. In one, his hand brushed hers. Small, almost hidden, but there. Proof. I printed them, taped them into a binder. Page by page, the binder grew heavier, the story clearer. Then I dug into social media. Isabella wasn't cautious. She had left breadcrumbs everywhere. A blurry champagne glass with the caption "Celebrating with him." A photo outside a hotel where Ryan had once claimed to be meeting clients. Even an old post from my birthday. While Ryan told me he was stuck in traffic, Isabella posted fireworks with the words "best night ever." The betrayal was not just in their actions. It was in the timeline. Every date I checked overlapped with moments Ryan had lied to me, moments I had doubted myself. Lauren helped me map it all out. We sat on my living room floor, sticky notes covering the carpet. Each note was a date, each color a category: finances, photos, posts, lies. By the time we finished, the floor looked like a battlefield. Lauren pointed to the center. "He was with her here," she said, tapping a note marked anniversary hotel stay, "while you were home making dinner." The truth hit me harder than I expected. I had been chopping vegetables, lighting candles, waiting. He had been clinking glasses with her. But instead of breaking me, the knowledge forged me. Once I had the timeline, I turned to presentation. Claire, my tech-savvy friend, came over with her laptop. She built a slideshow that flowed like a knife. Receipts fading into photos, posts sliding into screenshots. "When this plays," she said, "no one in that room will doubt you. Not for a second." I nodded, gripping her hand. "This isn't about doubt anymore. It's about ending his story before it rewrites mine." We rehearsed the sequence slide by slide. I spoke the words aloud, practicing my calm. No rage, no tears, just truth. The calmer I sounded, the louder the evidence would strike. But there was one more piece I needed. Something personal, something that cut deeper than numbers and photos. That came from a box in my closet, the one I hadn't opened since the divorce. Inside were old letters Ryan had written me. Promises of forever. Descriptions of the lake cabin, our future, our children. Lies dressed as love. I scanned them and added them to the presentation. Because nothing reveals betrayal like showing a promise made to one woman, while it was already being lived with another. By midnight, my arsenal was ready. Binders packed. Slides prepared. Copies stored in the cloud, on drives, and even in Lauren's purse. Eric once told me I was forgetful. Now I was meticulous. The gala invitation sat pinned to my corkboard. The date circled in red. The night Ryan wanted to shine. That night I would burn his mask. The slideshow was powerful, but even I knew evidence alone would not protect me. Ryan had always been slick, twisting words, turning questions back on me until I doubted myself. If I stood alone at the gala, he would paint me as bitter, jealous, desperate. That was why I needed allies. Not just friends, but a shield of people who believed in me and could hold the line if he tried to break me down. Lauren was the first. My sister had never once flinched when the truth surfaced. She sat across from me at my kitchen table, the binder of evidence open between us. "You cannot go into this by yourself," she said, her voice firm. "Ryan thrives on isolating people. If he tries it with you, I will be there. He can spin stories, but he cannot spin his way past me." Her loyalty steadied me. "I want you at the gala," I told her. "Not in the shadows. Beside me." She nodded. "Done." Then I called Claire. Tech genius, truth teller, relentless in her loyalty. When she arrived, she carried not one but 3 backup drives. "One in your purse," she said, sliding the first toward me. "One in mine. And one in cloud storage under a fake account. Even if he smashes your laptop against the wall, this presentation will survive." Her calm efficiency cut through my nerves. "Claire," I whispered, "you're my safety net." She shook her head. "No, Maddie. You are your own safety net. I'm just the insurance." Finally, I met with Evelyn Carter, my lawyer. She reviewed the binders with her sharp eyes, flipping pages with measured precision. When she finished, she closed the folder gently and leaned back. "This isn't just gossip," she said. "This is legal ammunition. Financial misconduct, emotional infidelity, timeline overlap. If you want, I can file for an annulment of his assets and claw back what he spent on her." Her words sent a spark through me. "Do it," I said. "But I don't want this just in court. I want him exposed in front of every person he respects." Evelyn's lips curved in the faintest smile. "Then you have chosen the perfect stage. A gala. He cannot charm his way out of a slideshow. He cannot deny receipts printed in black and white. You will be calm, factual, and unshakable. And when you are finished, I will make sure the paperwork follows. He will walk out of that ballroom with nothing." I walked home from her office under the city lights, the air cool on my face. For the first time in months, my steps felt steady. That night, Lauren and Claire stayed over. We practiced again, rehearsing the order. I clicked through the slides while Lauren pretended to be Ryan, throwing every excuse I had ever heard from his lips. "You're paranoid. You're making things up. That's not me in the photo." I answered calmly, never raising my voice. "Here is the receipt. Here is the photo timestamp. Here is your own signature. Over and over we drilled until my answers came smooth, cold, undeniable. At one point Lauren leaned back with a satisfied smile. He won't know what hit him. But I knew exactly what would hit him. The truth. 2 days before the gala, Claire sent me the final version of the slideshow. It opened with a single photo, Ryan and Isabella on their wedding day. The caption, "Forever begins now." Then the screen faded to the first receipt, dated months before the divorce. The timeline unfolded like dominoes, each piece knocking down the next. By the end, no one in that room could believe Ryan's fairy tale. On the morning of the gala, Evelyn texted me one line. "I will be in the crowd. If he attacks, I'm ready." I stared at the message, my heart racing. This wasn't just a personal showdown anymore. It was a trial staged under chandeliers and champagne. And I was both witness and prosecutor. That evening, as I zipped up my black dress and looked into the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Gone was the wife who had begged for answers. In her place stood a woman who carried proof like a sword. Lauren clasped my necklace behind me, whispering, "Tonight you end it." I nodded. Tonight I end his story. We stepped into the car, the city lights flashing as we drove toward the hotel ballroom where Ryan planned to celebrate his perfect life. He did not know I was coming. He did not know the truth was locked and loaded. But when I walked through those doors, every lie he ever told would collapse. The car ride to the gala felt endless. Every traffic light stretched. Every block hummed with anticipation. Lauren sat beside me, silent, but her hand never left mine. When we pulled up to the glittering hotel, my chest tightened. Chandeliers glowed through tall glass windows. Inside, laughter and music spilled into the night air. Ryan's kingdom, carefully polished, ready for applause. But I wasn't here to clap. I was here to end the performance. The plan had been rehearsed, refined, sharpened into something no denial could puncture. Claire had double-checked every file, every backup drive. Lauren carried a printed binder in her clutch. Evelyn was already inside, posing as another guest. The moment I gave her the signal, she would be ready to strike with legal filings. I had one chance. One window of time to flip Ryan's celebration into his undoing. The ballroom was filled with glitter. Women in sequin gowns, men in tuxedos. Champagne glasses clinked. A band played softly in the corner. At the center of it all stood Ryan and Isabella. Radiant, smiling, hands clasped like they were the royal couple of the night. My stomach twisted, but my steps stayed steady. No one noticed me at first. Just another guest in a black dress, hair swept neatly back. But when I stopped near the stage and set my small laptop bag on a chair, I felt eyes shift. Lauren stood beside me, calm, watchful. Claire blended near the back, phone in hand, ready to trigger the projector. I studied the layout. The projector sat by the band, its lens aimed at the far wall where a slideshow of the couple's wedding already cycled. Ryan twirling Isabella on a dance floor, Ryan kissing her cheek, Ryan raising a toast. The captions made my jaw clench. True love. Perfect match. Forever. My forever had been erased. Tonight I would carve it back. The first step of my counterplan was subtle. I slipped toward the projector and connected Claire's drive. She had renamed the file innocuously. Ryan and Isabella wedding memories. No one questioned it. The sequence would begin on command. The second step was timing. I knew Ryan. He loved speeches, loved being the center of every room. The program listed his toast at 9 o'clock. That was when the crowd would be quiet, all eyes on him. That was when my slideshow would begin. Not with applause but with proof. The third step was positioning. Lauren would stay beside me, binder in hand, in case Ryan tried to storm the projector. Claire would cue the slides. Evelyn would watch from across the room, ready to intercept if he spun into threats. And me? I would stand calm, voice steady, letting the evidence speak. At 8:45, Isabella glided past me in her gown, laughter trailing behind her like perfume. She didn't see me. She didn't know. That ignorance was my weapon. At 8:55, the band hushed. Ryan tapped his glass, beaming. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight as Isabella and I celebrate not just our wedding, but our future together." The crowd clapped, cheers echoing off crystal walls. Ryan cleared his throat, basking in their admiration. I stand here a lucky man, blessed with the kind of love that comes once in a lifetime. Isabella is my forever. She has brought me joy I never imagined. My blood boiled, but my face stayed serene. Then his words landed like a spark. Ours is a story of patience, timing, and honesty. Honesty. The gall. I gave Claire the signal. The projector clicked. The slideshow changed. The wedding photo froze, then faded. In its place appeared the first receipt. Dated 6 months before the divorce, bridal boutique deposit. The room stilled. Clapping fading into confusion. The next slide. A hotel booking with 2 guests. The next. Isabella at the company gala. Ryan's hand brushing hers. Gasp spread like fire. Isabella's smile faltered. Ryan's voice stuttered. What is this? I stepped forward, my heels echoing on marble. My voice rang clear. This, I said, is the truth you forgot to hide. The first slides hit the room like thunder. Gasps rippled, whispers surged. Champagne glasses froze midair. I could feel the crowd turning, their admiration for Ryan curdling into doubt. Ryan stumbled over his words, his smile collapsing. This is a mistake, he stammered, glancing frantically at the screen. But then, just as the third damning receipt appeared, the projector flickered. Once, twice, then it went black. The ballroom plunged into murmurs. My heart seized. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Had Ryan cut the power? Had someone tampered with the file? Ryan's composure snapped back like elastic. He slammed his hand on the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry. Some technical issue. Nothing to worry about. He forced a laugh, gripping Isabella's hand. Please enjoy your evening. The crowd wavered, unsure. Isabella clung to him, her face pale. Relief flickered across Ryan's features. He thought he had escaped. But my plan had never rested on one thread. Before he could continue, Claire stepped forward from the back, her voice steady and sharp. Technical issue? Funny. I have the same presentation on this drive. She held up a second USB, her eyes locking on mine. Ryan froze, his jaw tightening. I nodded to her. Do it. The projector hummed back to life as Claire plugged in the backup. The slides resumed, brighter, sharper, undeniable. The audience gasped again as images filled the wall. Ryan's hotel bookings, Isabella's posts, the overlapping timelines. But Ryan wasn't done fighting. He lunged from the stage, moving toward the projector, panic wild in his eyes. Lauren stepped into his path, clutching the binder tight against her chest. Don't, she warned, her voice loud enough to slice the murmurs. Ryan glared at her, teeth clenched. Stay out of this, Lauren. This is between me and Madison. Lauren didn't flinch. It stopped being private when you lied to everyone in this room. The crowd erupted, voices rising. Some shouted questions. Others demanded answers. Isabella shrank against the wall, her perfect smile gone, mascara streaking as the slides played on. Then came the real pivot. An unexpected complication I hadn't anticipated. The hotel manager rushed toward me, eyes wide with panic. Ma'am, you can't do this. This isn't part of the program. His voice shook, torn between rules and the storm unraveling around him. We'll have to shut everything down if you don't stop. My stomach clenched. If they cut the power, if the slides went dark again, Ryan would twist the moment into his salvation. He would claim sabotage, a jealous ex-wife crashing his party. The truth would scatter into whispers, unproven. I turned to the manager, my voice low but sharp. If you cut this, you'll be protecting a fraud. Do you want to be remembered as the man who silenced the truth? He froze, torn, the crowd pressing in, eyes flicking between me and Ryan. Ryan saw his chance. He grabbed the microphone again, shouting over the chaos. This woman is bitter. She cannot stand that I moved on. She fabricated everything. I took a step forward, my hand raised. My voice sliced through his shouts. Fabricated? Then explain the time-stamped receipts. The hotel logs with your name. The photos of you holding her hand while I was still your wife. The room turned on him, voices demanding answers, cameras flashing as guests recorded everything. Ryan's face twisted in rage. But just as the next slide, the carving of our initials at the lake cabin with Isabella posing in front, flashed across the wall, the projector sputtered again. The lights dimmed. The hum died. Darkness fell. And the last thing I saw before the screen went black was Ryan lunging forward, fury burning in his eyes, as if he would tear the truth from the wall himself. The ballroom sank into darkness. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Guests craned their necks, whispering, phones lifted to capture every second. Ryan stood center stage, his chest heaving, his face twisted with fury. "This is over," he shouted, voice booming through the mic. "Shut this circus down. You've all been tricked by a bitter woman who can't let go." His words slashed through the silence, but they didn't land the way he hoped. Too many had seen the slides. Too many whispers hissed around him. Receipts, photos, proof. I refused to let the blackout become his lifeline. I stepped forward, binder in hand. Lauren moved with me, her voice loud enough to reach the back row. "If the screen goes dark, the truth doesn't vanish. We have it printed. We have it saved." The crowd shifted, drawn to us. Someone shouted, "Show us." Another chimed in, "We saw enough already." Ryan's desperation cracked. He turned to Isabella, who stood frozen near the edge of the stage, mascara running in black streams. "Say something," he barked. "Tell them this is fake." Her lips trembled. She looked at the crowd, then back at me. For the first time I saw it, doubt in her eyes, a sliver of shame. Her silence spoke louder than any denial. That was my moment. I pulled the microphone from Ryan's grip. He fought it for a second, but the weight of the crowd forced him back. I raised the binder high. "You want honesty?" I said, my voice ringing steady. "Here it is." I flipped the binder open, holding up a page. 6 months before our divorce was finalized, Ryan paid a deposit on Isabella's gown, using our joint account. Gasps filled the room. I turned another page. On our anniversary, while I was home waiting with dinner, Ryan checked into a hotel with 2 guests. "Here's the booking." I slapped down a photo, the one from the gala months earlier. Ryan's hand brushing Isabella's. "And here?" Isabella smiling at the camera while my husband, stood at her side. The binder snapped shut. I let the silence stretch. Every eye bore into Ryan now, not me. He sputtered, his voice breaking. "This is twisted. She's lying." But then Claire, calm as ice, raised her phone high. "And if you still doubt, the slideshow is streaming live right now." She held up the screen, glowing bright with every damning slide broadcast to the cloud. Phones across the room buzzed as guests pulled up the link. Ryan froze. His last defense shattered. The ballroom erupted. Not with applause, not with music, but with outrage. Voices hurled questions. "How long? Was she your mistress all along? Did you marry Madison just to fund this?" Ryan staggered back, pale, sweat beading his forehead. Isabella stepped away from him, shaking her head. "You told me she didn't know. You told me we were free." Her voice cracked. "You lied to me too." Gasps cut through the air. Even his bride was slipping through his fingers. I took a deep breath, my hand steady on the microphone. This man didn't just betray me. He betrayed every one of you who stood here tonight believing in his fairy tale. He paraded her as his prize, weeks after divorce, as if love was some costume he could change at will. But the truth is clear. She wasn't new. She was there all along. The room turned against him fully now. Donors shook their heads. Colleagues whispered with disgust. Cameras flashed. His empire of charm crumbled in real time. Ryan's face darkened. He lunged toward me, fury boiling over. "You think you've won? You've ruined everything." But Michael, the same brother who had once looked the other way, stepped between us, his hand raised like a wall. "No, Ryan. You ruined everything." The room roared, voices rising like thunder. Security pushed forward through the crowd, summoned by the chaos. And as Ryan's rage spilled, as Isabella's tears streamed, as the truth spread through every corner of that ballroom, I knew my revenge had landed. The ballroom had transformed. Only minutes earlier, it had pulsed with music, laughter, champagne bubbles floating like glitter in the air. Now it crackled with something rawer. Anger, betrayal, spectacle. Guests swarmed, phones raised, flashes stinging Ryan's face. The slideshow still streamed on Claire's link, the damning proof spreading like wildfire beyond these gilded walls. Ryan's shouts echoed, but no one listened. "It's all lies. She made it up," he cried, sweat glistening on his forehead, his voice breaking. But no one believed him anymore. The evidence was too clear. The silence from Isabella too damning. I stood rooted, binder in hand, watching the empire he had built collapse in real time. Donors whispered with disgust, shaking their heads. Colleagues I once dined with muttered that they'd never trust him again. A woman in pearls pointed her phone at him, whispering, "Fraud." Isabella finally spoke, her voice ragged. "You told me you were separated. You said she was gone." She turned toward the crowd, her mascara streaking black rivers. "He lied to me too." The words rippled through the room. Even his bride was casting him aside. Ryan spun on her, eyes blazing. "Don't you dare turn this on me. You knew what you were walking into." Gasps surged. A man shouted, "So you admit it?" Another added, "You cheated all along?" The walls of the ballroom seemed to close in on him. Security arrived, two suited men moving through the throng. They positioned themselves between Ryan and me, one holding out a hand as if warding off his rage. "Sir, please step back." Ryan's fists clenched, his voice cracking. "She's destroying me." I steadied my breath, my voice calm against his storm. "No, Ryan. You destroyed yourself." The guests erupted, some clapping, others shouting. Phones caught every second. His downfall wasn't just happening in this room. It was being broadcast beyond, stitched into stories streamed live. Ryan lunged once more, but Michael stepped in again, his tone firm. "Enough, brother. Everyone sees you now." Ryan froze, chest heaving, sweat dripping. His eyes darted from face to face, searching for an ally. None came. Isabella shook her head, whispering, "I won't go down with you." She slipped away from his side, disappearing into the crowd. That cut deeper than any word I could say. His perfect bride, his shield gone. The chaos swelled. Guests clustered around me, some whispering encouragement. "You were brave. You saved yourself." Others stared at Ryan as though seeing him for the first time. Not the polished man he pretended to be, but the fraud behind the mask. One voice rose above the noise, Evelyn's. Calm, crisp, steady. She moved forward, holding a folder. "Ryan," she said, her tone slicing the air, "you've been served." She handed him the papers, her gaze unflinching. Gasps rippled again as Ryan's hands shook, gripping the documents that marked the end of his facade. The crowd pressed closer, hungry for every detail, their phones documenting his humiliation. His eyes blazed as he realized he had nowhere to run. His bride gone, his brother against him, his career unraveling, his secrets laid bare. He dropped the papers, his voice breaking into a growl. "You think this ends me? You think you've won?" The room erupted again, voices clashing, security trying to restore order. The chaos rose, thick as smoke. And in that moment, standing tall in my black dress, binder still clutched in my hand, I felt it, the power shift. For the first time in years, Ryan wasn't the man with control. I was. But as security moved to escort him out, Ryan's eyes locked on mine, burning with a promise. "This isn't over, Madison," he hissed. The words chilled the room. The morning after the gala felt like stepping into a new world. The air outside was sharp, crisp, and impossibly quiet compared to the chaos of the night before. For the first time in years, I woke up without Ryan's shadow pressing on my chest. But peace didn't come all at once. It arrived layered with headlines, whispers, and messages that poured into my phone before I even made coffee. The first notification was from a news site. Prominent businessman exposed at wedding gala. Alleged affair timeline revealed. The article included photos from the slideshow, snapshots from guests' phones, even a blurry video of me holding the binder, my voice carrying, "This is the truth you forgot to hide." The second was a voicemail from Lauren. Her voice trembled but carried pride. "Maddie, it's everywhere. You did it. Everyone finally knows who he really is." I sat at my kitchen table scrolling. Clips of Ryan's meltdown were trending. Strangers debating his downfall in comment threads. Some sympathized with Isabella, others mocked her for believing his lies. Most condemned Ryan, tearing apart the image he'd polished for years. And then there were the texts. Friends I hadn't heard from in months reached out. "I'm so sorry, I should have told you what I suspected. You were right to expose him." Even colleagues of his messaged me privately. "He won't survive this in the industry." It wasn't schadenfreude I felt, it was validation. Every gaslight, every lie, every time he told me I was paranoid had cracked under the weight of proof. But Ryan wasn't gone. Not yet. By noon Evelyn called. The papers were served publicly. He has 30 days to respond, but I doubt he'll challenge. His reputation is bleeding. He'll want it quiet. Quiet. That word made me laugh bitterly. There was nothing quiet about what had happened. The whole city seemed to hum with it. I spent the afternoon with Lauren. We boxed up the last remnants of Ryan from my apartment, cufflinks still in a drawer, a forgotten jacket at the back of the closet, even the heavy wine glasses he once insisted we needed. Piece by piece we filled bags, and with each item my space felt lighter. At one point Lauren held up a photo frame, glass cracked. "Keep it or toss it?" she asked. "Toss it," I said firmly. "The only memories I want now are mine." That night I lit candles in the living room. The glow was soft, steady, nothing like the harsh spotlight of the gala. I poured myself a glass of wine, opened my journal, and wrote 3 words in bold across the page. "I am free." But even as I wrote them, a small unease lingered. Because Ryan's last words still echoed in my head. "This isn't over." The next morning, another notification lit my phone. This one wasn't from the news. It was from an unknown number. The message was short, sharp, chilling. "You'll regret last night." My fingers froze on the screen. The glass of wine I had left half-finished still sat on the table, its surface calm. My heart was not. He wasn't done. The message haunted me for days. "You'll regret last night." Short. Venomous. Signed by no one, but it carried Ryan's voice in every syllable. At first I braced for retaliation. I checked locks twice before bed. I jumped at shadows on my walk home from work. Every buzz of my phone made my pulse spike. But the storm I feared never came. Ryan had already burned too much in public. He wasn't a predator anymore. He was a wounded man flailing in the ruins of his own lies. The silence that followed wasn't peace at first. It was waiting, tense and sharp. But with each day the waiting dulled. The headlines shifted to other scandals, other spectacles. Ryan's name stopped trending. Isabella disappeared entirely, retreating into obscurity. And me? I was left with the ashes but also with freedom. Evelyn confirmed the legal proceedings moved swiftly. "His lawyer submitted no contest," she told me. "The divorce settlement stands. Assets frozen." "He's finished, Madison." Finished. That word tasted final. One evening, Lauren and Claire joined me at the lake cabin, the same place Isabella had once dared to pose with our initials carved in the railing. The night air was cool, the water silver under moonlight. We stood on the deck together, the initials faint under my fingertips. Lauren handed me a small carving knife. "Erase it," she whispered. So I did. Slowly, deliberately, I drew a line through the letters. Not to destroy the past, but to mark its end. Afterward, we lit a small fire by the shore. I fed the binder into the flames page by page. Receipts curled. Screenshots blackened. Photos turned to ash. The fire carried them upward, sparks vanishing into the night. My evidence had done its work. I no longer needed it. When the flames died, I felt lighter. The next morning, I walked into the city not as Ryan's ex-wife, not as the woman who had been betrayed, but as Madison, whole, steady, unshaken. And I thought about all the women and men who had ever doubted themselves because someone they loved called them crazy, paranoid, dramatic. I thought about the lies that thrive in silence, and the strength it takes to stand in a room and let the truth speak louder than rage. So if you're listening to me now, hear this. Betrayal is not the end of you. It is the beginning of something new. Proof is power. Calm is strength. Revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about reclaiming yourself. Ryan flaunted his new bride weeks after our divorce, believing he had rewritten our story. But I rewrote the ending. Not with rage. Not with despair. With truth, timing, and a steady hand. He lost everything that night. I found myself. And if my story lit something inside you, remember. You are not powerless. You are not voiceless. Sometimes the best revenge is not just exposure. It's freedom. If this story moved you, subscribe now for more tales of betrayal, justice, and ultimate revenge. Because the end of their lies can be the beginning of your power.